The person standing before you at the altar could become your greatest earthly blessing or your deepest wound. And the difference often depends on conversations you never had before the wedding day. Marriage is not a fairy tale where love conquers all problems automatically. Marriage is a covenant that requires wisdom, discernment, and brutal honesty before two lives merge into one permanent union together. Proverbs chapter 24 verse 3 declares that through wisdom a house is built, and by understanding it is established, with every precious and pleasant treasure filling its rooms with lasting beauty. Too many believers rush into marriage based on feelings, physical attraction, and the pressure of loneliness without stopping to ask the questions that could save them from decades of preventable pain. The first question you must ask before marriage is this: what is your personal relationship with Jesus Christ, and how does your faith shape your daily decisions and future vision for life? 2 Corinthians chapter 6 verse 14 warns us not to be unequally yoked with unbelievers. This is not merely about church attendance, but about genuine spiritual alignment at the core of everything. If you are a spirit-filled believer and they are a casual cultural Christian, you will experience constant friction in your home. If they do not love Jesus first, they cannot love you correctly. Do not assume you know their spiritual depth because you met at church or they know Bible verses. Ask them directly about their prayer life, their worship, their convictions, and their walk with God. Ask them to describe a time when they had to obey God even when it cost them something valuable. Listen carefully to their answer and discern whether their faith is real or merely performed. The second question is this: what does marriage mean to you, and what are your expectations for the roles of husband and wife within this covenant relationship we are considering together now? Ephesians chapter 5 outlines the biblical pattern for marriage. The husband loves sacrificially like Christ. The wife respects and follows his leadership. But not everyone agrees with this beautiful divine design. If you believe the husband should lead, and they believe marriage should be a 50-50 democracy, you will fight about every major decision because your foundational frameworks are completely incompatible and conflicting. Discuss this openly without assuming anything. Ask what submission means to them. Ask what leadership means to them. Ask whether they are willing to follow the biblical pattern or their own ideas. The third question you must ask is this: how do you handle conflict and anger? And what did you observe in your parents' marriage regarding how disagreements were resolved or left unresolved? The patterns we witnessed in childhood often become the patterns we repeat in adulthood. If they grew up watching parents scream, slam doors, and give silent treatment, they may default to these behaviors. Proverbs chapter 22 verse 24 warns us not to make friendship with an angry man, lest we learn his ways and get a snare for our souls that traps us. Ask them how they respond when they feel disrespected or hurt. Ask them to tell you about their worst argument with someone and how it was resolved. Watch for patterns of blame or ownership. The fourth question is this: what is your relationship with your parents, and how do you envision their involvement in our marriage once we establish our own household as husband and wife together? Genesis chapter 2 verse 24 declares that a man shall leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. Leaving must happen before cleaving can work. If they cannot make decisions without calling their mother first, you will have three people in your marriage. If their father's opinion matters more than yours, you will always feel like an outsider. Ask them directly whether they are prepared to put you above their parents in priority. Ask what happens if their mother disagrees with a decision you both make together as a married couple. The fifth question you must ask is this: what are your views on having children? How many do you desire? And what parenting philosophy will guide how we raise them in the fear of God? Children are a blessing from the Lord, according to Psalm 127. But if one person desperately wants children and the other does not, this creates an impossible and painful conflict. Discuss this thoroughly before engagement. Ask about timing, number of children, discipline methods, education preferences, and how faith will be transmitted to the next generation in your home together. Do not assume they will change their mind later. If they say they never want children, believe them. If you cannot accept that answer, you must accept that this person is not for you. The sixth question is this: what is your financial history, current situation, and philosophy about money, including debt, saving, giving, and spending habits that you will bring into our marriage together now? Money fights are among the leading causes of divorce worldwide. Financial secrets destroy trust. Differing money philosophies create constant tension. You must know exactly what you are marrying into before commitment. Ask to see their credit report. Ask about student loans, car payments, credit card debt, and any financial obligations they carry. Ask whether they tithe and give generously to the work of God. Proverbs chapter 21 verse 20 speaks of treasure and oil in the dwelling of the wise, but a foolish man spends it all. Discern whether they are wise or foolish with resources. The seventh question you must ask is this: what is your sexual history, and are there any past experiences, addictions, or struggles that could affect our intimacy within the covenant of marriage together? This conversation requires courage, but it is absolutely necessary. Past sexual trauma, pornography addiction, same-sex struggles, or promiscuity can all impact the marriage bed if not addressed with honesty beforehand. Hebrews chapter 13 verse 4 declares that the marriage bed should be undefiled. But defilement from the past can follow people into marriage if it has not been properly dealt with through Christ. Ask with grace, but ask clearly. Is there anything in your sexual past that I need to know? Have you struggled with pornography? Are there any current temptations that concern you about remaining faithful? The eighth question is this: what are your expectations regarding physical intimacy in marriage, including frequency, boundaries, and how we will navigate seasons when one partner desires more or less connection? 1 Corinthians chapter 7 teaches that husbands and wives should fulfill their marital duty to each other and not deprive one another except by mutual consent for seasons of focused prayer and fasting. If one person expects intimacy daily and the other expects it monthly, frustration and rejection will poison the relationship. Discuss expectations openly now so there are no surprises after the wedding night. The ninth question you must ask is this: how do you define faithfulness, and what boundaries will you maintain with members of the opposite sex to protect our marriage from temptation and suspicion? In the age of social media, emotional affairs begin with innocent messages. Workplace relationships can cross lines gradually. You must agree on what faithfulness looks like in every context and situation. Ask whether they believe in having close friendships with the opposite sex after marriage. Ask about boundaries with coworkers. Ask about transparency with phones, passwords, and social media accounts going forward. The 10th question is this: what are your career ambitions, and how do you see our professional lives fitting together, especially if we have children and someone needs to prioritize the home? If both people are driven to climb corporate ladders, and neither is willing to sacrifice career for family, the children will be raised by strangers, and the marriage will become two ships passing at night. Discuss who will work, who might stay home, and what happens when career opportunities require relocation. These conversations prevent future resentment when reality forces decisions that should have been discussed earlier. The 11th question you must ask is this: what unhealed wounds or past traumas do you carry, and what are you actively doing to pursue healing so you do not bleed on me? Everyone carries scars from their past. Childhood abuse, abandonment, betrayal, and loss shape how we relate to others. A person who refuses to address their wounds will eventually wound their spouse repeatedly. Ask about their childhood. Ask about past relationships and why they ended. Ask whether they have pursued counseling, inner healing, or deliverance for the things that have hurt them throughout their life. The 12th question is this: what are your views on divorce, and under what circumstances, if any, would you consider ending our marriage instead of fighting to restore and redeem what God joined together? Jesus spoke clearly about divorce in Matthew chapter 19. saying what God has joined together, let not man separate. Yet many enter marriage with silent exit strategies already foaming in the back of their minds. Ask them directly, is divorce an option for you? What would cause you to walk away? Listen carefully, because someone who sees divorce as an easy escape will use it when things become difficult. The 13th question you must ask is this: how do you plan to pursue continued growth in our marriage through date nights, communication rhythms, counseling, and intentional investment in our relationship long term? Many couples work hard to win each other during dating and then neglect each other after marriage. The pursuit must never stop. The romance must be cultivated. Intentionality must become a lifestyle always. Ask what they think a healthy marriage looks like after 5 years, 10 years, and 20 years. Ask what practices they will commit to maintaining connection when life becomes busy and demanding. The 14th question you must ask is this: what are your non-negotiable values, convictions, and boundaries that you will never compromise regardless of pressure? And do they align with mine completely? Every person has hills they will die on. For some, it is political. For others, it is theological. For many, it is cultural or familial. You must know what these are before you commit. Ask about their convictions on alcohol, entertainment, church involvement, friendships, family traditions, and moral issues facing society. If your non-negotiables conflict, you will battle endlessly over fundamental lifestyle choices. These 14 questions are not designed to create fear or suspicion. They are designed to create clarity, honesty, and a foundation strong enough to weather every storm that marriage will bring your way. Proverbs chapter 20 verse 5 declares that counsel in the heart of man is like deep water, but a man of understanding will draw it out. Draw out what is hidden before you commit. Some will avoid these conversations because they fear what they might discover. They prefer the fantasy of ignorance over the reality of truth. But ignorance does not protect you from consequences. Better to know now that you are incompatible than to discover it after children, mortgages, and years of investment have made separation devastating. Truth before marriage prevents destruction after it comes forth. Do not let the fear of losing the relationship stop you from asking hard questions. If they leave because you wanted honesty, they were never the one God had for you anyway. The right person will welcome these conversations. The right person will appreciate your wisdom and discernment. The right person will answer openly and ask their own questions in return for clarity. If they become defensive, angry, or dismissive when you try to discuss these matters, this is a massive warning sign. A person who hides before marriage will hide even more after it. Proverbs chapter 27 verse 12 says, "A prudent man foresees evil and hides himself, but the simple pass on and are punished." Be prudent. Do not pass on into preventable disaster. Take time with these conversations. Do not rush through them in a single sitting. Spread them over weeks or months. Revisit answers. Watch whether their words match their behavior over time carefully. Involve wise counsel. Speak with your pastor, with married mentors, with family members who have walked this road before you. Let others help you see what emotions might be blinding you from. Fast and pray before making your final decision. Ask the Holy Spirit to reveal anything hidden. Ask Him for peace or for holy disturbance. He is faithful to guide those who seek Him. Marriage is the second most important decision of your life after following Christ. Do not treat it casually. Do not let culture's fast pace rush you into something that requires patient, careful discernment. God wants you to have a blessed marriage. He designed marriage for your joy, your growth, and your reflection of Christ and the church. He will guide you if you let Him, but He also gave you wisdom, discernment, and the responsibility to steward your choices well. Use the tools He has given. Ask the questions that could save you from a lifetime of regret. If you are already engaged or married, these questions still matter. Start the conversations now. Build the foundation even late. Repair what can be repaired and strengthen what has been neglected too long. May God grant you wisdom, courage, and discernment as you navigate this sacred journey toward covenant. May He lead you to the one He has prepared, and may your marriage bring Him glory forever.